By now, you may have seen many other first impression videos from other YouTubers talking about the OnePlus 10T 5G. It is a great phone, but there's a lot of compromises that they also mention as well, which is kind of a deal breaker as compared to the OnePlus 10 Pro. But before we get to all of that, let's do the unboxing and I'll tell you my first impressions of it. Alright, let's open the box right now. So on the front you get the text, Evolve Beyond Speed. So the T series from OnePlus has always been performance oriented while cutting down some other features from its Pro model. So this is the 10T's box in this really nice red color scheme. And there is apparently a pull tab right in front here that we should be seeing something interesting here. Alright, so apparently this unboxing kit comes with two exclusive OnePlus 10T cases here, which looks really nice. Alright, so this one here apparently has a texture feel. It's rubberized, I believe. So this is called a shock absorbent case. It is the OnePlus 10T 5G Glacier Matte Case Gray, and we have another one right here which is more of a kind of like a premium case. So this is the OnePlus 10T 5G Bumper Case Sandstone, right? If you miss the Sandstone fitting on this phone, you can definitely put on this case because, you know, the OnePlus 10T 5G doesn't have that Sandstone texture. And now let's take out the phone out of this box. So the model that we got right here is the 16GB RAM and 256GB storage variant, and it is the jade green color. Right, let's cut out the seals. And here we go. Right, one box on the top. Let's take it out. And here's the phone. This is it, beautiful jade green color, and the 150-watt super volt charger in a UK 3-pin prong. And here is the really nice charging cable from OnePlus, which I always like. It is a USB-C to C cable, so you got to use this cable to enable that 150-watt super volt charging speed. Now let's take a look at what's inside this box right here. So we've got some paperwork here, some manuals, and we even get a black and red OnePlus sticker here. So there's no TPU case included in the box, but you know, we have already got these two boxes and they are really nice. So just in case if you get a retail version, there is no TPU case included, so you gotta go get one on your own. Right, so I've got the OnePlus 10T set up right over here, and as usual, OnePlus always has really good software. First impressions is always good, it is smooth, and this time it is powered by a Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 processor that is more power efficient and has better performance than the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 on the OnePlus 10 Pro. Now, let's talk about the hardware right now. So on first impressions and even on photos, you might think that the OnePlus 10T has a similar hardware build and design as the OnePlus 10 Pro, but in fact it is very different when you hold it on hand. Now, first of all, the OnePlus 10T actually feels pretty lightweight. I actually like the weight a lot, but in terms of design, there are a couple of subtle changes, such as the camera bump right here. On the OnePlus 10 Pro, you do actually find the camera bump being separated from the body, which is kind of like a dedicated bump itself. Some people like that and some people don't. Personally, I don't like that because it feels that it is like a purposely cut up module that could actually get scratched in the long term. But for this one, it actually blends into the chassis like what you would find on the Oppo Find X5 Pro, and I really like this kind of symmetrical design that actually blends it really well with the phone's design instead of just one huge camera bump on the back here. Now, of course, with this camera bump right here, you do also get a different triple camera setup, and most of you would know that it is a downgrade from the OnePlus 10 Pro, and to be honest, that is expected because the OnePlus 10T was never actually meant to be a successor to the OnePlus 10 Pro. That has always been the tradition of every T series of OnePlus phones. They upgraded something, but they also compromised something from the Pro. But this time, I think a lot of YouTubers might disagree with the fact that you need to do something to the camera, because by all means, the OnePlus 10T doesn't have a bad camera system. For starters, the main camera of the OnePlus 10T is a 50-megapixel Sony IMX766 sensor with OIS, and this is something that we have been seeing on many recent phones such as the Vivo X80 Pro, the Oppo Find X5 Pro, the Nothing phone, and a lot of other phones are using this sensor. So this is actually a really good sensor that has proven to be really well balanced when it comes to general and low light. It is accompanied by an 8-megapixel ultra-wide camera, which is actually a little disappointing to some people out there because, to be honest, having an 8-megapixel ultra is kind of low res these days, but I'm sure it will still take decent photos despite its low resolution. But what I am not satisfied right here is the removal of the telephoto lens and in replacement of a 2 megapixel macro lens, which is something that we don't tend to use it every time when taking photos. And to be honest, I would rather OnePlus include a lower resolution, a telephoto camera like a 2x zoom. It would still be a lot more useful than a 2 megapixel macro lens. As for the front camera, it is a 16 megapixel shooter, which to most people it should be sufficient. Though, of course, when it comes to flagship standards, you definitely should not expect such a low resolution front-facing camera, especially for OnePlus. It is all about selling specs and numbers on their device. Now, another thing that I'm a little disappointed with the OnePlus 10T is the alert slider. It is no longer available on the OnePlus 10T because that is probably the most signature design on any OnePlus phone for the past decade, and it is something that it has against all other Android devices out there. Now, OnePlus tells me that they did this just to have more space inside the phone to fit in a bigger battery and for the 150 watt faster charging. But to be honest, I don't think that is actually the case. It's more of an excuse for OnePlus to cut down costs. That's in my humble opinion, and I believe every other people would think the same way as me. But to be honest, it's not a deal breaker, even though I really would love to have the alert slider on the side right here, but it's not something that I couldn't do it with software. But seriously, OnePlus should just include it, as part of their signature. So the display on the front here is a flat 6.7-inch AMOLED display that shows 1 billion colors and refreshes at 120 Hz. But unlike the OnePlus 10 Pro, this is a Full HD Plus display and it is not an LTPO display, which means it will not be able to refresh as low as 1 Hz to conserve power. But to be honest, since this phone has a more efficient hardware, I doubt that is actually something that you need to be worried about, because the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 has been a very power efficient chip as I've tested it on the ROG Phone 6. Go check that review if you haven't done so. So I believe this phone will still be a really good battery champ. Now, as for battery, the OnePlus 10T employs a 4800 mAh dual cell battery that OnePlus says should be good for up to 1600 charging cycles before it drops to an 80% capacity. So that's actually a really nice thing that OnePlus has done over here. Even though it is 200 mAh less than the OnePlus 10 Pro's 5000 mAh battery, I don't think it is going to make a lot of difference right here. You should still be getting really good battery life. But unfortunately for those who want wireless charging, the OnePlus 10T doesn't have it. But like I said, they already offered a 150 watt charging brick out of the box that should get you charged from 0 to 100% in about 20 minutes. You really don't need to worry about having wireless charging or not on this phone. Now that I've talked about the hardware of the OnePlus 10T and you know what's missing and what's good about it, it's time to talk about my first impressions. So, like most other YouTubers out there, I definitely share their sentiments on what OnePlus could have done or what they shouldn't have done to the OnePlus 10T. To be honest, like I mentioned earlier, the T was never meant to be a successor of the Pro. Well, I might not be right in saying that, but then it is of course a follow-up to the OnePlus 10 Pro. It's kind of like a OnePlus 10 Pro S in some ways, but you couldn't say that as well because there are of course some hardware trade-offs that they have to do. But when this phone has such an attractive starting price at $649 US, it really makes sense for OnePlus to cut off all these things in order to make this phone so cheap. Because let's not forget that there's still the chip shortage issue that's going on in the market right now. So I'm sure when they manufacture this phone and consider putting in the latest processor and the latest chips and whatever things that they have done here, they would have probably thought about the cost that it is going to increase on this phone should they maintain the very much same hardware from the OnePlus 10 Pro over to the 10T. So of course there are certain compromises that I would say that OnePlus shouldn't have done, such as the alert slider. Personally, I think that is not an excuse to omit it, because to be honest, it's actually very useful for some people out there, because you can simply just slide it and you can just make your phone go silent or go on vibration, and that is something I think it is totally unforgivable. But as for the cameras, I think it is okay, because I have experience with the Sony IMX766 sensor and it takes really great photos, and I would say it's about an A- to B+ grade if I were to put it in that way. It's not a bad camera by all means, but of course the lack of a telephoto sensor has always been something that I wish certain affordable flagships would not have omitted. But for now, I do not have any pricing details of the OnePlus 10T in Malaysia just yet, but I'm sure it should be priced from around 3.8 3K or 3.4K ringgit. That's probably the price that OnePlus Malaysia is going to set. I think this is going to be a really attractively priced device nonetheless as compared to many other flagships that we have reviewed recently, because most of those Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 flagships that is still in the market right now, they are still priced way above 4,000 ringgit, and this is powered by the latest Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 chipset that is more power efficient and has more performance and is cheaper than those other phones. So if you're someone that's looking for a phone that has a good screen, good performance, you can really just look past all those things that is not available on the OnePlus 10T. And I think this is going to be a great phone for you if you have that kind of budget to spend on a flagship. Right, so yeah, that's pretty much all my first impressions. Personally, I don't think this is an entirely bad phone like some other YouTubers have claimed, like as if this is like a total deal breaker and OnePlus shouldn't be doing this. This is a very, very good smartphone that I look forward to try it out as my daily driver, and I can't wait to share with you my thoughts in the final review. What do you think about the OnePlus 10T? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and be sure to let me know what you want to know while I'm reviewing this device, and I'll conclude it and answer that question in the final review of the OnePlus 10T. As for now, thanks for watching, subscribe to our channel, and I will talk to you guys in our next one.